Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Were you a popular sporty kid at school when you were a child? When you're a child at school, the sporty kids tend to be really popular among the friends, and were you one of these popular sporty children who's always chosen to school sports teams, team sports? I wasn't one of these. I was actually quite unhealthy child. I had a lot of health issues as a child. I was born with congenital hip dislocation, so I had to wear some sort of cast as an infant. Then I remember being in hospital for quite a long time. Maybe I stayed in the hospital for 2, 3 weeks for some kidney problem, and that's when I was 4 or 5, even before school. Then when I was at school, when I was around 10, I had a heart problem. So for about maybe a year and a half, I didn't go to school very much. I probably went just in the morning, didn't do any PE, any sports for a long time. So I really had a lot of health issues, and especially the heart problem when I was about maybe 10ish. That's around the time when you start to develop your own self-image, self-awareness. So I think that really affected me in not just physical sense, but in my psychology. So I got better, and by the time I was 12, I was well enough to do PE and just join all the normal activities. But adults around me, understandably, very worried. So they didn't want me to exert myself. So they didn't really want me to do lots of sports or do anything too physical. So it affected my self-confidence in a physical sense. So I always saw myself somebody who's weak. Then from the age of 15, I was brought up in Japan. So you start senior high school. So second high school, senior high school. Then around the time I started playing tennis, I joined the tennis club. So I started doing more things. Then as an adult, I danced, I did ballet. So started leading normal, active, healthy life. But always this complex, inferiority complex about my not body in a sort of the way you look, but more about the strength, how strong I was, my health. I always had a complex. And that really started to just carried on for a long time until I started doing yoga. So I think I was 29 when I did my first yoga class, joined my first yoga class. And that's the first time I felt things were easy for me because I'm just genetic makeup. I was very flexible. Although I wasn't strong, I was very flexible. So lots of things felt really easy. And for the first time, I thought, oh, this is quite easy. Up to that point, anything physical was really, really hard for me. So naturally, I carried on yoga. Then after a little while, very soon, I discovered yoga is much more than flexibility. Some things you can do easily if you're flexible, but there are lots of other things which requires more than flexibility. And I started to really appreciate those postures. So gradually I built up strength and also build up stamina. So this is just carried on. It really started to shift the way I see myself. I see my body. So I was gaining more and more confidence. And the biggest turning point was when I learned headstand. So headstand is not just difficult and requires lots of balance, technique, strength, flexibility, but also there's big element of fear. It's quite scary thing to do, to learn to do. So I had to overcome the fear to develop headstand. And surprisingly, really didn't take that long to learn to go up on headstand. I was actually quite obsessed. I practice every day at home, not just at the yoga class, practice every day. And quite soon I learned headstand. And that really, really changed my confidence and how I see how I see myself. I really started to change my self-image. So up to that point, I always saw myself somebody who's weak, who's physically not very confident, who is not very physically capable. And I'm quite short. You can't see me, but I'm 5'1". So that really didn't help either. So I really didn't have the very, very, very good positive self-image regarding the body and the health and the physical ability. And that really started to shift. So I started to see myself, maybe I'm actually strong. Maybe I have stamina. Maybe I can do more things. And that was really, really big turning point. So I continued to practice yoga, and now I can do quite advanced back bend. I can do drop back. These things I actually learned gradually, really over the years. I learned my first drop back last year. So that's really in the late years, and I'm still learning. And each time I learn something difficult, each time which requires strength and dedication, and each time I acquire something which requires conquering fear, that really helps my confidence, physical confidence. The more I do, the more I feel maybe I can do more. Not just in yoga, in many things. So if going for a long walk, I may feel perhaps I can. Lots of other things. I was so absolutely petrified about swimming in a place where I cannot touch the bottom. But now I feel quite comfortable. I feel maybe I can. So that really gave me a lot of confidence, and so I can participate in lots of activities now. So it doesn't need to be yoga, of course. And if it's yoga, it doesn't need to be advanced, what you consider difficult postures. There's no need to do these postures. But even quite simpler postures, say if you couldn't, if you always saw myself, I'm somebody who cannot touch my toes. And when you can easily touch your toes, then you start seeing yourself differently. So each time you conquer something, each time you do something, then you're constantly rewriting the self-image of yourself. Maybe you see yourself as somebody, oh, I cannot sit quietly. But then you start to develop your mindfulness practice. And if you can meditate for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you have occasional really peaceful moment, then you start seeing yourself differently. So we are always constantly rewriting our self-image. And yoga is such a good tool for that. So this is really today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my background and wanted to say what a good tool yoga is in many different ways, not just the physical, but also your mental, how you see yourself. You can keep improving, changing the way you see yourself in a positive way. Thank you for watching.